This is Bulgaria's well over 40-year-old express trains. With the roof rusting away and a rough graffiti-covered exterior, these carriages might look like they are in terrible condition. But once I stepped inside, I was in for a big surprise. Join me on board the 3-hour journey on this express train from the nation's capital Sofia through the mountains to Bulgaria's second largest city, Plovdiv. As I show you why, Bulgaria's express trains surprised me. We begin our journey from Sofia Central Station. The station has a very grand feeling, with the large monument watching over the station building. However, it all feels a little bit unloved out here, with what seems like a former shopping arcade being left mostly abandoned. However, the actual main station building looks a lot more lively, so let's head inside. The grand feeling of the station continues on the inside with this large open space. And over the entrance doors you'll find some really cool artwork. And from the second floor of the station there's a pretty good view of the city and the mountains in the background. For station facilities you will find a large ticket office, as many trains are still not able to be booked online. Inside the actual building there's quite a lot of seating. And there is also a supermarket, but it can only be accessed from the outside. As there's still about an hour or so before my train departs, let's go see what's on the platforms. Access to platform number 1 is past this small steam locomotive. A nice memory of Bulgarian railway history. In much worse condition than the steam locomotive is the much newer Bulgarian passenger carriages. Luckily, the Bulgarian railways are modernizing and getting better rolling stock, with a recent purchase of IC1 carriages from Deutsche Bahn. And I thought it was pretty cool seeing the Turkish night train carriages that arrived in this morning on the night train from Istanbul being paired up with the IC1 carriages. As our train towards Plovdiv is departing from platform 5, we'll have to head down to the underpass to access the platform. Down here you can also find the station's luggage storage facility. At the time of filming this video, the station was under heavy reconstruction works, with many trains instead starting their trips from Sofia Severe station, which meant that much of the station's train traffic was downgraded to just a shuttle service up to Severe station. From the eastern end of the platform it's possible to get a little peek into the train depot, although there didn't seem to be much activity at this moment. But a few moments later, I caught the shunting locomotive pushing the carriages for our service onto platform number 5. So it's time for us to head over to platform number 5. These carriages have definitely seen better days, and to be frank, they look very dirty, outdated and overall like they are falling apart from the outside at least. The blue first class carriage was built in East Germany around the 1980s and later purchased second hand by the Bulgarian railways in the 1990s. The 3 red second class carriages are also from the 1980s, but instead locally manufactured in Bulgaria. And here comes what I think might be the funniest thing about the Bulgarian railways. Hauling the old, dirty and graffiti covered carriages is gonna be this brand new and spotlessly clean Siemens Smartron locomotive. The Smartron is a cheaper and more basic version of Siemens' popular Vectron locomotive, capable of 160 km/h. The Bulgarian railways have ordered 2 batches of these, totaling 25 locomotives, with deliveries starting in 2020 and the last ones expected to be delivered by the end of this year. I just find it so comical. They got brand new trains that seemingly receive great care, pulling around what looks like a piece of crap. I mean, the roof is literally rusting away. But despite the rough appearance, the carriages are actually not that bad on the inside. So it's time for us to head on board. Something to keep in mind is that step-free access in general is an unknown concept on the Bulgarian railways. First class comes in compartments with 6 seats, and I have to say, my first impressions are great. The carriage on the inside is actually clean and overall in a pretty good condition. And you can already tell that these seats are gonna be super comfortable. We'll take a look at the train's interior in great detail later in the video. But for now, our train is departing Sofia Central Station on time. As mentioned, the station is currently under heavy renovation works, and therefore our departure out of the station is very slow. It's great to see investments being made in the Bulgarian railway and upgrading the old infrastructure to allow for the trains to continue to run well into the future. And as our train now has navigated its way out of Sofia station, I think it's about time we take a look at the route map for today's journey. We are on board Intercity Fast Train number 8613. Our train leaves from Sofia, and despite being called a fast train, will still make several intermediate stops before arriving in Plovdiv. This is a distance of 156 kilometers scheduled to be covered in 3 hours and 6 minutes, giving the train an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. After Plovdiv, the train continues the rest of the way across the country to terminate at the Black Sea in Burgas. While Sofia station is under construction, the trains take a temporary route through some former stabling yards, and it's safe to say the quality of those tracks have seen better days. Some stations are also receiving upgrades, including Plovdiv, our first station stop. Because of all the upgrade works, despite the main line to Plovdiv technically being double-tracked all the way, in practice this is currently not the case. In order for train traffic to keep going during the reconstruction, trains operate on one of the tracks while the other track is upgraded. Then they swap over to the new track once completed, allowing the other track to be upgraded. However, this approach severely complicates timetables, as trains now have to be scheduled to meet in a place where there are at least 2 tracks still functional. This also makes the timetable very vulnerable, as even a small delay to one train can spread to multiple across the entire line. We have now mostly left Sofia behind and will be speeding along towards the slightly mountainous part of the route. Sitting in a retro compartment like this while the train goes clickety-clack is definitely a vibe, so why don't we take a closer look at the compartments. Despite their age and outside appearance, inside the Bulgarian railways have taken great care of them. The carriage is very clean, and to my big surprise, there's a modern control panel for the announcement volume as well as the lights. However, as it's the daytime, the lights weren't quite working. The carriage has also been retrofitted with 4 electrical outlets, and these first class seats are very good. They have an incredible amount of padding, both in the base as well as the back and the headrest. Even the armrest is padded. So while the actual train itself might be quite slow, if you just want to relax and sink into a comfortable seat, this is the way to go. We'll take a look at the second class compartments and the rest of the train a little later in the video, but now we are heading into the mountains. In order to speed up train journeys to Plovdiv on the mountainous section of the line, the upgrade works don't just involve replacing the old track, but also in select sections building a whole new alignment that can allow for speeds of up to 160 km per hour. and the loud entrance means we are now arriving at Kostenet station. Because of the single track operation, this is one of the stations where we have an extended stop. But this gives us the opportunity to jump off and stretch our legs. And while I went to have a look at the locomotive, most of my fellow passengers took this as a good opportunity for a smoke break. A couple more minutes passes and then the inbound train to Sofia shows up. And after a brief passenger exchange, we both get the all clear. The bright green colors with the hilly backdrop on this sunny spring day really makes this part of Bulgaria look very pretty. However, by now we have almost completed our passage through the most scenic but also slow part of the railway line. But before we completely leave it behind, let's go and have a look at the rest of the train's interior. Starting with the first class toilet. It is looking a bit basic, but we got a working lock and there was a bit of water. However, there's no soap, no towels to dry your hands, and they weren't even present where they were supposed to be. Overall, you could probably get some business done here, but this is definitely an area for improvement. Down in the second class carriage, the Bulgarian railways have come up with a creative solution to stop people from opening the doors and smoking out of the back. All 3 second class carriages on today's train came with compartments. However, these compartments are a noticeable downgrade from first class, featuring 2 extra seats per compartment, making the seats quite narrow and cramped. However, they were still generally well maintained, featuring both electrical outlets, a new luggage shelf, as well as an upgraded control panel. The price difference between first and second class is often only 2 to 3 euros, so well worth it in my opinion. We are now approaching September station. This is the starting point for the legendary Rhodope narrow gauge railway, which is the highest railway line in all of the Balkans, which I will be covering on my YouTube channel in the future, so make sure you are subscribed. Our train will however stay in the flat valley for the remainder of the journey to Plovdiv, where we can reach our train's maximum speed of 130 km per hour. It's my understanding that this railway line is actually ready for 160 km per hour, but the old train carriages are not permitted to run at this speed. As our journey is rapidly coming to an end, it's time to talk about tickets and sum up my final thoughts. The tickets are very affordable, with a train ticket to Plovdiv on board this train coming in at about €5.60 in second class. First class is a little more at around €7. And while the Bulgarian railways still are a bit rough around the edges, a lot of investment is being made into upgrading the infrastructure. Other efforts are also being made, including modernizing the rolling stock by buying some reliable locomotives, getting some solid second-hand carriages from Germany, and ordering in new trains to fill the rest. So while my journey today perhaps was a bit of a trip back in time, I'm really excited to see what the railways will look like here in Bulgaria in just a couple of years. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, as I try to post a new one every Sunday. You can also follow me over on Blue Sky at intercitysimon.com, as I usually post live from my travels over there in real time, so it's a great place to get a sneak peek at what videos might be coming to the channel in the future. Thanks for watching.